Hey guys, my name is Sarah and I play a lot of Symmetra. Today I'm going to talk about a game that I played a few weeks ago on Volskaya Defense, as you can see. And I'm just going to go through the gameplay that I did and sort of look at it after the fact and describe what decisions that I was making in the moment as I was playing the game. And I'll call it some mistakes that I made and some good things that I did. And hopefully that'll be more helpful than some of the other Symmetra guides that I've seen online. If you've seen any of my other Symmetra videos, I won't go into as much detail as I have in the past about turrets, because I know on a couple other maps I've talked really extensively in detail about when I use like how I try to use turrets, and so I'm going to reference it here, but not in perhaps as much detail as I have in the past. So if you're interested in more in turrets, I recommend watching my videos on King's Row or Anubis. It's just like a strict turret guide with nothing else. So I recommend that. So the first thing I do here is when I'm playing Symmetra on defense, I always sort of have to make the call as between whether I want to go all the way out to the attacker's spawn and set up turrets there, or if I want to just like stay at the choke, this being the choke right here in front of me, and put the turrets up here. And so in this case, I decided to go and put them by the door. I don't always do that, and in particular, I don't always do that on this map because I find that putting turrets at the choke in the place that I like to can be very risky. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But in this case, I decided to put them here. And I feel like whenever you're deciding, let me take another look here. I wanted to get this paused view for where I put the turrets. When I put the turrets next to the spawn, obviously it's really just you're trying to get a couple extra seconds of charge on your ult before the attackers like see all your turrets and take them down. And so I feel like when you're placing your turrets at spawn, the most important thing to do is put them someplace that they aren't going to be seen for as long as possible. And so what that also means is that sometimes the most like effective places aren't actually very effective if they're the most expected places. And so what I tried to do here was sort of the non-standard choice that I was trying out in this particular instance to get some ult charge before the game started. So I don't especially like think that this is the greatest place to start putting your turrets. But another thing I like to do though is you'll notice here I'm hanging out getting ready to shoot an orb. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you I'm getting ready to shoot an orb. And the reason that I'm doing that isn't because I expect to get a lot of damage done with the orb, but I find that that's a really effective strategy for distracting the enemies slightly long enough that your turrets give you, 10 or 20% extra charge. So oftentimes I'll try to shoot the orb near, or also a shield, near the doorway, not so much to attack them as to just distract them and buy me a second or two extra, which can make a big difference, and it doesn't take very many seconds to get to 100% charge. So this was really sort of a throwaway, trying to time it to distract them. And like, was it worth it? Probably not in this case. I'm at 10%. It's not really good, but it's always sort of like a risk-reward trade-off. So now I'm sort of reaping the costs of having done that at the beginning, because if you've ever seen me play Symmetra on one of my streams, you've probably seen many times that I do this setup where I put turrets up here sort of at the middle window height. And the reason that I put them at this middle height and not down here at the bottom is because I really don't want the turrets I don't want the attackers to be able to see these turrets until they're sort of through the gate. I want them to go through the gate and have the turrets be directly behind them. And if the turrets are down here, they can sometimes see like the red edges of it sticking out. And also, as soon as they like walk under the sign, they'll start getting hit, and then they'll back up really easily. And so I want them to come through here and be a lot more committed, and also a lot closer to me, where I can sometimes like take them out or damage them with my beam, with my primary fire. So I really like to put my turrets up here at this window height, and then like some on the side and some on the left. But the best place to do that, of course, is on top of this truck. And when the attackers are at the gate, like you can see over here on the left, we've got whoever this is over here, and over here on the right, that I'm really very exposed, in particular to a Widow. And you're going to see in a second here, while I'm trying to set these up, like they all know I'm here and I'm just hiding. Another cost in this case is that because I put all my turrets next to the attacker spawn, that now you can see I don't have any queued up. I can only put a few down at a time. And so now I have to really wait before I can put the rest of my turrets here. So I'm trying to do that. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, obviously we've got this bastion here. And what I really like to do with bastions is make it inconvenient for them to go into turret mode. And so let's look back real quick to what I did here. I hear him. I look out here to see if he's set up. He's not set up yet. Um, so I drop a shield to protect myself while I see what the situation is. And then as soon as he goes into turret mode, right there, what I want to do is drop as much damage in the form of orbs at that spot as I can. And so as soon as I hit the shield, as soon as I see that he's in a known location that's going to take him a second to leave, I start dropping these orbs as fast as I can to damage him. And even if it's not enough to actually kill him, it's usually enough to make him like get up and go somewhere else and heal. And so that buys me a little bit of time. And so often, if he's more distracted, if there are more enemies on my team for the Bastion to shoot at, then I have time to use a larger orb, which, you know, gives him more damage all at once. And then by the time, hopefully by the time he realizes that he's getting damaged by a big Symmetra orb, it's too late for him to escape. And so then maybe one of my teammates can finish him off. But because he was really looking at me there, I was trying to just get as much little damage as I could to make him move. So now, of course, I have another turret ready to go, so I step back up there, and again, we see how this was a risky place for me to not have my turret set up at the beginning. It really would have been much better if I had had my turrets set up instead of going to the attacker spawn. Now, you might say, what's the big advantage of having your turrets there on the gate? I feel like having all those turrets on the gate there is really, really effective. It really, really keeps them out, and I can't tell you how many times I've gotten like gold limbs from just keeping my turrets in place up here on this choke. So I try to do that as much as I can, and I consider that sort of my first duty as Symmetra on Volskaya defense to keep those turrets up and running in that place. And obviously they can still flank around, but it's amazing to me how few people will flank around, and they'll just keep throwing themselves at the gate and taking damage. So anyway, I consider that a very high priority, especially early on in the game. So of course I died, so I'm walking back out. I can see my turrets are getting taken out. And so let's see, I've got 3 that are, oh sorry, no, I have 0 that are still up. So I'm walking out here, and the first thing I want to figure out is my primary duty at this point in the game is to put my turrets up at the gate. But if the attackers are already through the gate, obviously that's not what I'm going to do. So I can walk out here. As I'm walking out, I can see that there's some stuff happening up here, and I don't really know if this is just like one guy who got through the gate, in which case I'll let my team take care of him because they'll probably be able to, and then I should just go straight to the gate and set up my turrets on the left. Or if this is like a big push and all their team is through the gate, in which case I shouldn't bother setting my turrets on the gate. I should go to the point and prioritize setting them up there. So as I'm walking out, I'm looking around trying to figure that out. And so I look over here to the left. I want to see, like, oh, there's nobody on the point. And then, in fact, so what I did here, back up once more. So I come out. Is there anyone on the point that has to be dealt with? No, it doesn't look like it. And I look back to the left, and I don't see these guys at first. So I start to leave, and then I say, whoa, I do a double take, and I see that we've got, like, 3 attackers out here. So obviously I can't put anything on the gate here. At this point, I have a couple options. One thing I could do, and one thing I've done frequently when the enemy team in this position is going through this room, which I call the garage, is I'll set up a lot of turrets on the exit to the garage. But it's kind of risky unless the rest of my team is there, and it's not risky necessarily in terms of me dying, although it is risky in that regard, or it can be risky in that regard, but it's more risky because my turrets take a long time to charge. So like once I place one, you know, it takes a minute for it to be ready for me to place another. So if I am dropping my turrets in a situation where they're just going to be instantly taken down and they're not going to sort of like pay off the time that it took for me to like have them available again, then that's like a waste of a turret. So if I have the rest of my team over here waiting by the exit to this door, that might be a really great time to set up my turrets there, because the turrets will, like, A, the attackers will be distracted by my team, and B, my turrets will be able to, like, help, and, like, collectively we can all kind of clean them up together. But if it's just my turrets, they'll turn around and take the turrets out, and it's not usually very effective right there. So I decide they're in too far, I'm just going to set up on the point. And I have a few different places that I set up turrets on the point on Volskaya defense. The one that you're about to see me do here is sort of, I consider it like the basic one. And I usually start out with this because I feel like it's really easy to set up, and if the enemy team isn't super proactive about turrets, it's usually pretty effective. But sometimes there's like one guy on the attacker team who's like, I'm on to you, Symmetra, and he comes around the corner and takes them all out in one go, and so then I have to be a little bit more sneaky. So this is sort of the basic thing that I use pretty frequently. Now, of course, you can hear there's this ulting Bastion. And so my goal here, knowing that he's coming, as soon as I hear him ult, is to get my turrets up and then sneak back inside so that hopefully he walks in front of my turrets and they kill him. And that is exactly what happened. And it worked out pretty well. He did take out some turrets in the end, and so now I want to reset them, but you can see they're on cooldown, so I have to wait. Also, I don't want to go too far away because I can see that I'm at 94%, which means A, I want to be playing more conservatively because I don't want to get killed when I could be placing my teleporter. But B, I want to try to loiter around here because this is where I'm going to put my teleporter in this case. I think that teleporter and shield gen placement, there's a lot that can be said about that, but to some degree, I think it's sort of it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether you're going to put it somewhere that the enemy team is immediately going to think to check. And obviously there's also a trade-off between putting your teleporter like super far forward where it's going to be easier to take out but it's going to save your team a lot more walking, or like a little bit forward where it saves your team only a little bit but it's much harder to take out. And so what I've started doing lately, and this changes based on what seems to be working for me at any given time, is putting the teleporter here in this room. One thing that I really like about that is that they can see the teleporter if they're looking from the front, and I find that it can often be a distraction, that rather than thinking sort of holistically, if that's the word that I want there, the attackers, rather than thinking holistically about taking the point, often will think more about like getting to the teleporter and worrying about that, and it'll cause people to like splinter off the attacking team and be like, well, I'll take out the teleporter rather than actually working as a group to attract a goal. And so I've actually found that to be pretty effective. Sometimes if you've got a good Sombra or a Tracer in particular, or even like a Pharah or Diva who are super dedicated, they'll flank around and take it out, in which case you can't do that anymore. But that's sort of my go-to start for the moment right now, although sure that could change at any time if people start, if it starts being ineffective. So I don't want to go too far. You'll notice right here I dropped that shield. The reason I dropped it is because obviously this Hanzo ulted, and I can see that there are enemies here, but I know that while the dragons are in place, I'm not going to be able to see who's here and who might be shooting at me. And so I kind of want to know what's going on. I don't want to just hide over here and not have any clue of who's in what place. But and so in this case, I just drop a shield towards the place that the enemies are likely to be standing, and then I know that I'm protected from most attacks during that period. I'm also dropping orbs because why not? And sometimes it's really effective. So here we go. I drop my teleporter, and again, I'm trying to figure out. Back up here. And so again, I want to be putting new turrets up. I actually have one more available here, which I could have put up then, but I didn't, probably because I wanted to know who was coming through the gate and sort of what the new situation was and how urgently things needed to be happening. If I came around this corner and the enemies are still back by the choke, then maybe I should try to push forward and put a turret on this wall, which is a place that works pretty effectively for me sometimes, a couple turrets. But when I come around here, obviously they're super far forward. And then this stupid McCree kills me from behind, and I didn't even know he was there. While I'm waiting, I click through my teammates to sort of usually check and see if the teleporter's okay, just kind of understand what the situation is. And of course the teleporter is still okay here. So I go back to set my turrets up. But before I get too far, I realize, actually, I should check and make sure that the gate, or the choke, isn't still an option, because as I said, that's the much, I think, preferable place to hold them here. So I don't want to invest my turrets in the choke if the gate is going to be the best place. So I come around here, and I can see immediately that, like, we don't have the gate at all, and in a very messy way. Like, we have all these people in different places. There's not a good place where I can say, all right, I'm in front of all of you, and you're all going to come through this way, so I'll put my turrets here. So in this case, I really wanted to kill that Bastion. Look how sad this is. So I come around here, Bastion's like super low. Look how low he is, and he's healing, and he's super low. And I've got my primary beam, but it's on the Zenyatta by mistake, and so the stupid Bastion escapes. And then of course the Zenyatta ults. Now the side of this dump truck is something that is sort of my second tier. I guess, yeah, I consider it like second tier for the choke. If we don't have the choke, but we sort of have a presence near the choke and we almost have the choke, a lot of times I'll put 2 or 3 turrets right here on this truck, and then as they come through to try to go into the garage, you know, to the right here, This will shoot them in the back, and I'll sometimes get a few kills that way. And so this is sort of sometimes I use this, and then as a result of using this in combination with my team being nearby, this will help us retake the gate, and then I can set them up in the place that I really want. But, so since it's sort of a porous border right now, I put the turrets here on the side of the truck. Again, we've got that bastion there, and they're trying to come through, but we don't really have enough of a presence. Obviously, if I step on top of this truck to try to put turrets on the gate, that's not going to be effective, and that becomes increasingly true as we see the bastion coming through here. Oh yeah, and so this is something that I really like to do. If you ever have a bastion who's in turret form, I find that they are often unaware of a turret that's getting them. And so I will very often have a bastion in turret form who's focusing on the rest of my team, and I have one turret, and the turret just slowly kills him before he notices. And so you'll see later, whenever I'm fighting with a bastion, if I can, I'll try to drop a turret right near him. So in this case, we've got two turrets that are on him, and so he looks like a great target, and I'm hoping that I can come in here and finish him off. Right there, that took an amazing amount of self-control. Let me show you that. So one of the things that I'm very guilty of with Symmetra is I think I can kill someone, and I'm like, oh, I can take them, and then I step outside of my like zone of security, and then I die. And so right here, I really wanted to go after him, but I didn't. I backed off, which is the right thing to do. But now we're back at the gate. So I can set some turrets on the gate. If I don't feel like it's secure to get up here on top of this dump truck, I'll often just hang out in this corner and put like 3 or 4 turrets right around here, which is actually pretty effective sometimes. If they're proactive, if you have like a Winston who's being pretty good at getting the turrets out, then that will sometimes not work. But it's a good, if you're at the gate and you guys almost have the gate, it's a good sort of secondary measure until you can get them where you want them to be. So here, I did exactly what I just described. I said, I bet I can take this Hanzo, and I stupidly walked in front of this bastion. This was really dumb. This bastion's here. I really wanted to take this Hanzo out, because I'm like, he's a squishy, I can do it with my primary fire, and I'm just like, doo-dee-doo, walking into the bastion bullets, so, c'est la vie. Let's move along here. So again, my teleporter's up, and first thing I see is we've got a Sombra right here on the point. So she goes off to wherever, and as soon as I see that she's here, obviously she's going to go to this big health pack and try to hack it. And so when I know there's a Sombra around, I want to sort of inhibit them as much as I can without having to babysit the health pack. So in this case, I put a turret up here, and the nice thing about that is I know it's going to prevent her from, if she tries to appear and hack that, it's going to prevent her from hacking it until she deals with it, and it might buy us a little bit of time that I can go in there and either kill her myself if she hasn't successfully hacked it yet, or put some more turrets there for like her future attempt at hacking it. So then she comes over here, we kill her, and so I want to set a couple more turrets so that if she comes in, it'll inhibit her again from trying to hack that. So this is these are some of my sneakier turret placements, is right behind, actually let me back that up so I can show you because I don't do too many of them here. But I'll often, if we're getting a lot of pushes from up over this wall, I'll often put turrets right along the top of this wall under where they can be viewed from someone standing on top. And so they're pretty visible from anybody entering from the choke, from that side of the point. But if we're commonly getting pushes where they come in from up here and then they jump down, they'll often jump down, and then as soon as they land on the point, they're dead by the time they hit the ground from my like 4 turrets here. So so that's a pretty good spot I have found. So here we are back again, and I can hear the bastion ulting. And I might have been able to escape him there if it hadn't been for the dragon. But actually, let me back up here. One other thing. So, actually, never mind. I thought I did a different thing there, but I didn't. Sorry, I'm blocking the microphone with my pencil. So, let's come back out here. My teleporter's down, and I have to walk all the way back out. We've got a lot of teammates on the point. It's looking okay. And actually, let me back up here. So, again, I'm coming out, and I want to figure out what the situation is. If the choke is clear, I want to set my turrets back up there, as usual. But I can see all my teammates are around here, and I don't really know exactly what's happening, but we don't have the choke. And so I come through here optimistically, just in case. Of course, I see this Anna, but if she's in there alone, we still could be in a good situation. But then, like, obviously we've got this, I think that's Hanzo over there, and Bastion right here. So, I try to get him. I bet I would have gotten this Bastion if it hadn't been for the Zarya shield. I did get him quite low with my turrets there. But I died a lot in this game. So here we are. I almost got my teleporter, but I'm looking at the kill cam and I can see we're down and we don't have too many people on the point defending us. So it's looking less and less good. And I'm probably watching my ult here as I'm coming out. And I know we've got some people out there. I don't really know what the situation is. And so here I did something that might look silly in retrospect, but so I put the shield in front of me so that it prevents me from anybody who's attacking, like, people coming to the point. And so then I can just walk behind it. And then as soon as I'm walking behind it, I drop a whole bunch of orbs. This isn't the silly thing. I drop all these orbs in front of me. And then as soon as I get here, I turn around and I drop the teleporter. Now, I know they're really close to capturing, but I don't actually know what the situation is. And so this could be like a game-changing teleporter to drop this down in a really exposed place. But if by some chance my teammates who are dead are respawning right then this could be really valuable. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But I think it was a good trade-off, especially since I made sure to do it before the point was captured. And so what that means is that it instantly gets refunded. And so if I had done it afterwards, obviously that would be stupid and I would have wasted my teleporter, or probably I would have wasted it, not necessarily. But you can afford to be risky in that kind of situation, because if you're doing it right before it gets captured, because, like, if it doesn't get captured, great, you'll have time to use it, and if it does get captured, it gets refunded. So, like, you might as well do those risky things right at the end of the capture like that. So here I go, time to go back home. Our Zarya very kindly shields me while I escape, and I'll use my shield to protect myself as I'm going back to the point. So now, here, I need to decide what to do to set up point B. Just a second. So I have sort of two competing priorities for like the most important thing to do right now. Set down the shield gen, or set up a bunch of turrets to catch them as they come inside. They're far enough away, I decided I'm going to set the shield gen down. Occasionally, I do use a teleporter on Volskaya. Usually, that's when we're about to lose the point, and I'm almost at the point, and I can put the shield or the teleporter in some, like, pretty risky location, and it's just to, like, get everybody to the point super fast because a whole bunch of us are dead. Every once in a while, that prevents us from losing. But so here, I'm just looking around for a place. I find that on Volskaya, people are pretty good at, like, attackers are pretty good at guessing where the shield gen is. And so this is a new position that I was trying just for this game. And I can see, just from this shot, that, like, anybody who comes in this door is going to be able to see this. And, excuse me, and if an enemy does come in, they're very likely to be coming in through this door on the top right. So I move a little bit closer and a little bit to the left. And so then I come up here to the stairs and I try to look and see how visible it is. Like, let me look here. So in retrospect, it's probably still a little bit visible because I'm only at the edge of the stairs. If I'm a little bit over to the left, they'll be able to see even more of this. But I think this might still be a good spot if I scooted it to the right, from this perspective to the right just a little bit, where obviously it would be quite visible from this door, or the door that's above me and to the right in this position. Your right. This is your right. This is my right. That's to the right in this position. You're right. But they're probably not going to be coming in that way most of the time. So I was just trying this, and it actually worked pretty well in this game. So off I go. Now now the most important thing for me to work on is setting up turrets. And where I like to set up turrets, I have sort of two places that well, actually, I guess it's more than two. If things are dire, I set my turrets up on the point, and I'm going to talk more about that later in this video. If I don't know anything about the enemy team, I'll probably set them up right around this main doorway. Oh, in this case, though, there's this Bastion here. I forgot about that. And I find that if you have a Bastion who's distracted and you hop all over the place, like, as you see I am doing here, just like left, right, back, and forth, sometimes you can take him out. Oh yes, let me back up one more time here. So, So the fact this Bastion is here takes me by surprise. I didn't realize he was out there, and that tells me, like, I don't know what the situation is. If this Bastion was able to get in here, like, maybe there's a Hanzo over here, like, who knows where anybody is. I don't know how secure this is. So I don't want to go back out to that main doorway and set up the turrets there, because it might be more necessary to set them up on the point. So I instantly go into like emergency setting up turrets on the point mode until I know that things are safe. And so what I do here is I really like this spot. It's important when you use this spot to make sure that it's high enough that the platform doesn't knock it off as it goes by. If you put it, I think, around this level, the platform will knock it off. So I always try to put it a little bit higher or a little bit lower. But I find that the higher turrets are less likely. I find that the higher a turret is off the ground, the longer it tends to stay up before people kill it. And I mean, maybe it's only a few seconds, but like that helps. A few seconds helps. So I put some up there. I also put some inside this little nook so that when they're walking in, like this'll get them in the back. And I'm as I say, I'm still in sort of emergency mode here. I've got the Zarya that needs to be dealt with. And I use the shield for defense there. I try to use, when we're on capture point maps, especially on capture point B, where it seems like you'll often have like a big open walkway, like on Anubis defense B or on this one, I do a lot of just throwing my shield out as much as possible because it just prevents damage coming in, and it prevents them from getting their ults. It's ult charge they can't get, and so even if nothing is happening, if you got people at the outside this choke here, I'll often just shoot my shield as much as I can, if there isn't something else actively going on. So again, I'm trying to get my turrets in what I think is like the best arrangement, and this seems pretty good. 2 here, 1 up here. We've got this guy and then 2 on the near tall wall. So then, like, knowing this is covered, I feel like, okay, this is safe behind me. I can sort of head out to the choke, and maybe then I can decide if I want to put my turrets out there at the choke. Obviously, what I said before, this could have been a waste to put all of them here since I only have one of them on cooldown, but, like, we obviously don't have a very tight grip on the situation since we had a Bastion and a Zarya on the point just a second ago and some other people coming in. So I want to get everything under control. So once we're out here, I try to set some turrets down, but I have to wait for them to be off of cooldown. That's another thing you'll see me do frequently. I charge my turret, like right here. I'm already I charge my alt fire. You'll see I'm already charging it here, and then I have no idea who's outside this corner, but I'll turn around and then drop it as I'm aiming at them. And so I do that very frequently in places that enemies are likely to be if I don't have anything else I could be doing. If I could be placing turrets, I'd be doing that. If I could be shooting someone nearby with my primary fire, I'd be doing that. But I can't do either of those 2 things, and so, like, shooting my giant orb in the place where enemies are likely to be is actually more effective than you might think. So I'll just back that up so we can see it uninterrupted. So again here, all of that hopping around was me trying to use my primary fire. Let me back up. Trying to use my primary fire to just take someone out if I could. Lots of times I will just look for a squishy who's near the gate and just take one person out and then back up. And I don't have any other goal except just damage their ability to do a push in the next 10 seconds. Here, obviously, I can hear the Bastion ulting, so I want to go away and hide. What I'm really hoping will happen is he'll come in here and my turrets will take him out. In the meantime, I can put some turrets down here, and actually, yeah. So let me back up here, try to get a good shot of that wall. So I find that this is actually a really good place for turrets. If your turrets are being very rapidly taken down right around the gate, like on this wall or on this wall, I'll often put 2 or 3 turrets here, maybe 1 at the bottom, 1 or 2 at the top, right in the center, so that they can't really be seen until someone comes around the side, maybe 1 or 2 on the back of this. And I find that's actually really effective. They sort of learn pretty quickly, but sometimes you can get 1 or 2 kills with it before you have to sort of abandon that spot because they're on the lookout for it. So here we go. Again, I'm trying to just take 1 or 2 people out. That was very risky. And I heard that soldier ult. I turn around. Here he is, and he's on the point. So we've been doing pretty well. The Bastion and the Zarya are out, but the soldier's on the point, so that's obviously a problem. And so so what I'm about to do here is something that I find to be very effective. I can see that my shield is available. It's off cooldown. So I approach him from behind my shield, and I'm charging my big orb, and then it didn't hit him in that case, but sometimes it can, and then I chase after him. And so I have often used the shield against someone who's ulting to get very close to them. I'll also do that a lot with McCrees who are ulting. I'll use the shield and shoot it towards them, and then, like, when they finish their ult. Like, the only time it works out poorly is if the shield gets through them and they still have their ult afterwards, and so then I'm, like, right next to them, and they can ult me from super close range, since then I have to, like, dodge and try to get behind them and stuff. But I find it's a pretty effective technique. Also with Pharahs, if you do it at an ulting Pharah, then oftentimes it'll, like, the AoE will hurt the Pharah if it gets close enough to them. But that only works if you're, like, close enough to the Pharah that she's still ulting by the time it gets close enough to her. So here, let me back up a little bit more. We've just dealt with that situation, and as I'm going out here deciding where to go, I've sort of got two main options. The main gate, where I'm going to put some turrets, or over here to the left. And the reason that I'm even considering the left is because I can see that I have two teammates there, and they're already like this Pharah's going over there for some reason and shooting at someone. So that seems like a good place. Nobody's really out here. So I decide I'm going to go, if they're going to be doing these little flanks, I'm going to set up some turrets here. And I don't want to set up all of them, but just a few. And then I'll come back here. And one of the things that I'll do is sometimes I'll set a few up because I know it'll slow down an enemy and sort of alert me that they're coming. I used to, when I was newer to Overwatch, put single turrets in a lot of different places that could sort of warn me that an enemy was approaching via that route. Like on Numbani defense, I might put turrets like around the outside back flank and the inside flank route and the upstairs flank route. And but I really come to think over time that that's just a waste of a turret, because it's much better if I can put those 3 turrets somewhere that's going to get me a kill instead of just letting me know someone's coming when we can just watch it proactively ourselves. So I'm keeping my eye on these, though, because I do want to know what's happening over there. And in fact, right there, I can see that they're all triggered. And so once they've become triggered like this, I want to kind of keep my eye on them. Oops. Additionally, let me adjust that. Just a second. I changed the volume there by accident. I want to keep my eye on them additionally, because I want to know if they get taken down right away or not, because that actually gives me a lot of useful information. So I see that they're obviously all activated. Oh, I just noticed my mouse isn't here. I don't know how long my mouse hasn't been showing for you guys. Anyway, I want to see what happens to them. So they've been activated here. I look over to the right, and I notice that they're still being activated. So that happens pretty fast, but oops, I went the wrong way. But I just want to show you. So I come over here. They're all activated. I look back to the right to see if there's anything behind me, decide what to do. And then when I come back, they're still all being activated. And that's kind of unusual. Usually in that span of time, someone has started taking them out. Now, that does happen here. Like, boom, one of them is destroyed. But the fact that they've been activated for such a long period of time tells me something very useful. And that thing is, someone's over there to be shot, and they're not paying attention enough to notice that that 3 turrets are attacking them. And so that usually means that, like, they're either in a dire situation, or they're distracted because, like, my teammate might be fighting with them. Or maybe it's a large enough group that they haven't actually had to notice, and it's like shooting a tank and he doesn't care and there are other people there. But in any case, all 3 of those situations, like, either it's bad and we want to deflect this push. That's one option if it's a big push. Or if it's the other 2 circumstances, like someone who's in a really dire situation or someone who's fighting one of my teammates and is distracted, I can really improve the odds of that situation by going to help. So I come around here to help, and I can see it's this Zarya. I try to take her out, but I can't. And it's all over for me. But I think going there was definitely the right choice, and keeping an eye on how long your turrets are activating really tells you useful information. So here again, I hop around. The Bastion's not able to keep up. This seemed pretty effective. Nobody Nobody who took down those last turrets was like, aha, there are turrets here, I'm going to take them down, and like instantly took them down, as happened, for example, at the very beginning of the game at the attacker spawn. So because of that, it seems like a good place to keep putting turrets. If they had just like taken them down instantly, I probably wouldn't have bothered in that spot, because I consider that spot like spoiled already. They know it's there. But because they didn't get taken down super proactively, it seems worth putting them back there. So then I go back, the point's looking alright. So I decide I'll put my couple remaining turrets here by the front. And then as it becomes apparent how many enemies are right outside that gate, I decide that I'm going to try to put a third turret in this region, although I think I got distracted, but I was trying to. And for me personally, even though like when your turrets are off screen, I'll just pause it here, you can see these little icons here on the left. Good, my mouse is showing. These icons here on the left are showing me that my turrets are off screen. I find these very, very difficult to keep focused on. Whereas like this icon, I feel is very easy for me to notice. And so personally, you'll often see me when I have turrets, like flipping back over to where the turrets are and checking their status. And so like that's what I did here. Well, actually, let me back up. Like, how are my turrets doing? I have no idea. There's no way to be sure. And so I really do a lot of actively turning to check them. Like there, okay, they're good. I'm watching them. Nothing's being activated. And then I sort of come back over here to deal with what I'm actively dealing with. Now, if I'd had my shield off of cooldown here, I definitely would have fired it at the at like any cluster of enemies. One of the things I really like to do is to stupidly fire it at a Zarya, but I try to shoot it at enemies that it's going to really like help me defend from. So at this situation, I really should have talked about that. So I come out here, we don't know where anybody is, and so I can see that none of my turrets are up. So I decided to put a couple here to just kind of get this under control. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know if we have flankers who are going to come around. If I had been watching more carefully the kill feed leading up to respawning here, maybe I would have a better picture of that. But I didn't really know what the situation was, and so I want to do my sort of proactive defensive turret placements. So here's this Reaper. One of the things I'll try to do when I'm Symmetra with Reaper is it takes me so long to kill him that he'll often be able to, I don't know, ghost mode. I always forget what his little modes are called. But he'll be able to like float away from my turrets and my beam. And so what I'll often try to do is wait until he's in a place where he's gonna like flee to where there are turrets before he's able to use his shift to escape. And so like, I could have attacked him a little bit sooner here, but instead I tried to do it while he was already backing up. However, Farah helped me out. So there, I don't know if you saw, I just did another check to see how my turrets were doing. Check, they're good. Nobody's active, so things are probably okay back there. So I go back into full orb mode since I don't need to put any more turrets up. I feel like they're making enough incursions that I probably want to leave my turrets in the point for a minute. And again, that was sort of a proactive shield usage. Here comes Bastion, so I want to hide from him. And something else I did there was, once I heard the Zarya ult, lots of times when you have a Zarya ult, everybody who's in the ult will shoot out of it at the enemies. And so if there is a friendly Zarya ult happening, I'll often shoot my, my shield at that just to protect us as I approach them. Me and anybody else. Of course, I go in here to avoid that soldier ult, and then he's probably going to ghost mode away, because that's what Reapers do. But again, you'll see in a lot of places, I just shoot that shield sort of as a precaution. Ooh, that was nice. Hitting him with my orb. I don't know, I guess I'll call that out. Symmetra mains will probably be quite familiar with that. But right here, I'm starting to charge my orb, And I want to wait until I'm close enough to him that I think I'm likely to hit him, or that I'm shooting the orb where he's likely to go. And so I hit him and killed him with that one big orb shot. Let's see, anything else here? I got her with my turrets, even though I used my primary fire. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, in this game, I had really good healing. I was solo queuing here, and as you heard, perhaps, I didn't use voice chat very much. I often use voice chat, but sometimes if I'm tired or, not feeling well or just not feeling very social, I might not. And so, I feel like this is a good example of a game where I didn't really do that at all. We'll watch this soldier. So, I guess that's about it. Trying to think if there's anything else, any other insights that I can mention there. Obviously, there are a bunch of different ways to play Symmetra effectively, but this is sort of the standard mode that I use for Volskaya defense, and obviously I have different things that I do on different maps. Also, did you notice nobody took my shield gen down that whole time? But that worked out pretty well. So, one thing here, just a moment. Let me go over here to the screen. Here we go. So, this video brought to you by all of my Patreon supporters, who are lovely people, and I have you guys all listed over here on the left. This list is current as of September 18th, at whatever time it is, 4:40 p.m. So, if you're not on the list, let me know if you think you should be. And, Steve, I have you on the list. After all of my copy-paste errors, I was like, I'm making damn sure that Steve is on this list today before I make this video, and you are. So, thank you, Steve. And thank you to everybody. Let's see. What other things do I want to say? I guess that's about it. If you want to talk to other people who play Symmetra or are just general nice people, you can come and join the Discord, which you can see right up here, discord.sarahwatch.tv. If it's not working, if that link isn't working, just click the link in the video description. And it's just like a big chat room, and we talk about Overwatch, and we're all nice people, and if people aren't nice, we kick them right out. So I guess that's it. Thanks you guys for watching, and I hope this video helped you guys play Symmetra. Okay, that's it. Bye.